Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be talking about ultrazest. This fragrance has been hyped up since its discontinuation, and I'm going to be talking about whether or not this fragrance is really worth the price point it's being asked for. And as always, guys, hit that like and subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. It helps me grow my channel. Ultrazest is one of the A-Men line, very popular line of men's fragrances from mugler, and this fragrance was recently discontinued and has been talked about a lot since that time. If you're familiar or you've been curious about it and you've been looking on eBay, some of the prices that people are asking for this are absolutely outrageous. Some of these I can buy niche fragrances for a much cheaper price. I've seen this as high as $300–400 online, which is really preposterous. But I will say a lot of the average prices put this in the high $180, $190 range, sometimes over $200. And ultimately for that price, I can easily get something like a PDM, or I can get, Nishane, I can get kerosene, I can get a lot of high quality niche fragrances. So I'm gonna talk about this one today and tell you if I think it's still worth it. This one has top notes of blood orange, tangerine, mint, and ginger. The middle notes are black pepper, coffee, and cinnamon. The base notes are tonka, patchouli, and vanilla. So, how does this one open up? Actually, it's really interesting because that orange does give it what's been described as an orange creamsicle, which is very interesting. But that mintiness also gives me a little bit of the crypto mint opening as well. So this does definitely have a very strong dose in the opening of that original chocolatey kind of A-Men DNA, and it's very strong. But with that mint, I also get what I call, with the crypto mint, the Girl Guide cookie effect. So you get this sort of orange creamsicle with a side of the Girl Guide cookies, which is a little weird because I feel like it's kind of trying to be two things at once, and it seems kind of like the two of them are fighting. And I will say also that the sweetness for me at times is certainly a little bit cloying with this one. I do really like the orange vibe. I do really like the orange creamsicle vibe. But all in all, I do find it a little bit too much at times, and it's a little bit weird how it's kind of fighting in the opening between this orange creamsicle and this Girl Guide cookie vibe. Now, as this one dies down, the sweetness doesn't get quite as cloying. I do start to lose the orange creamsicle vibe, although the orange does stay around for quite some time in this fragrance. I was actually impressed to find it that even though it does die down quite a bit, even in the dry down, 2–3 hours in, that orange is still there. And I find that, with a lot of these citrusy notes, they just don't last that long. And having it last, 2–3 hours at least is pretty good. And after that, it does have this sort of chocolatey vanilla vibe that is mixed in with patchouli. And I do definitely in the mid get a little bit of that coffee, which is really nice. I do love the coffee note. Wish it was actually a little bit stronger in even this fragrance. But it does add a nice touch, and it does sort of dry down to a very similar and familiar A-Men DNA. Performance on this one is not bad as well. I mean, the longevity for this one, I get between that 6 and 8 hour mark, which is not horrible. And I do find that the projection is there for the first 2 hours. This definitely doesn't have a lot of sillage, though, I will say. It's certainly one that I don't get tons of whiffs, so it's not a really strong projector, but it does definitely project a little bit for those first 2 hours or so. And it does have a little bit of sillage, not tons, but I'll definitely rate it sort of medium on the sillage scale. I get a few whiffs here and there, and it certainly is in the air, but it's definitely not a sillage king by any means. So overall, I guess when you think about this fragrance, I mean, you got to really ask yourself, do you really love that orange vibe that it has going for it? And if you do, you might find that it is worth it to you to pay $200+ for a bottle of this fragrance. Ultimately, though, if you are really in love with that kind of vibe, I would really recommend checking out Sundrunk by Imaginary Authors. Now, it is a different orange vibe. That's actually more like an orange soda. Very nice, very interesting, but it has that very nice, interesting orangish vibe to it. It's not quite as sweet, and it doesn't have the creamsicle quality, but it definitely has a very similar orange fizzy quality that's really, really enjoyable. It's also significantly cheaper. So you can get, I think, a 50 ml for about $90. I think that's the price on the website. You might be able to find it cheaper than that. But I mean, at the end of the day, they are asking outrageous prices. And you should always remember, when it really comes down to it, fragrances that are discontinued are usually discontinued for a reason. It does occasionally happen that an ingredient suddenly becomes unusable because of laws, and they might choose to discontinue a fragrance for that reason. That does happen. But if you ask people in the community and you ask perfumers, I remember an interview with Roja about this, and he said ultimately what it comes down to when they discontinue fragrances, it's because they don't sell. And now a lot of times things get hyped after they get discontinued. There's always the appeal of something that is hard to get. And I think a lot of what this fragrance is having is that appeal. It's not really that great a fragrance. It's by no means bad, but this is not something I would ever pay those kinds of outrageous prices for. If this was priced as a regular mugler fragrance, yeah, I could see it being worth that, absolutely. But ultimately, it's not worth niche prices, but maybe, again, for you, it might be. And in that case, go out there and pick it up. It's always very subjective, and what's worth it for you may not be worth it for me. Anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.